Hi guys, welcome to the Red Bull Arena here in New Jersey, just across the water from New York City, where Newcastle, in sweltering, humid conditions here tonight, have continued their pre-season preparations with yet another match in which they have failed to be beaten. But this one was no draw like the two previous matches we saw against Aston Villa and Chelsea. This one has been a 2-1 win for Eddie Howe's side, having been 1-0 down to a Danny Welbeck goal to Elliot Anderson. Late strikes, the second of those, the last kick of the ball, right in front of the Newcastle supporters, over to my right hand side, gave Newcastle the win, and really just kind of underlined exactly what this squad is all about. The fact that they never give up, they keep going to the end, and that is a squad and a team at the end of that game that had so many youngsters in it. The two Miley brothers were in that 11 at the end, so too was Murphy, the young defender, Turner Cook, who was playing forward, Parkinson as well, and of course Elliot Anderson, who had started the game, played the full 90 and showed just how fit he is with those two late goals. And really interesting, we spoke to Eddie Howe in the post-match press conference there, and he said he's not surprised that Elliot kept going in these conditions, because he, in the fitness test that they've done this week, has come out as the fittest player within the squad. So he said he's obviously been working hard over the summer, he's now getting his just rewards, and that's exactly what happened with those goals at the end there. He said he's come back stronger, he said he's come back leaner, he said he's come back quicker, and he said you don't score goals like that in the last kick of a game when you sort of get your way through, you hold off the defender and bury the ball home low into the net if you're not super fit, and that's clearly what Elliot Anderson has. And listen, he's really given Eddie Howe a decision to make ahead of the season, and Howe admitted that himself. He said guys like Anderson and young 17-year-old Louis Miley, who came off the bench in the second half and helped change the game for Newcastle, giving him a real decision ahead of the new season. They're forcing his way into their plans. He says they're catching his eye not just in training but in matches as well, and it must be a delight to see for Newcastle United supporters, seeing two young local lads coming through, following in the footsteps of Sean Longstaff, who's in the team currently just now, and Paul Dummett to a lesser extent. It must be amazing to see. I've actually just done an interview with Jamal Lascelles in the tunnel there, and I said to Jamal, I said, look, when those two goals went in, I looked down on the bench and you guys were all sat there, all the experienced players sat in front of me, the likes of himself, Tonali, Isak, Callum Wilson, Matt Ritchie, Longstaff, Willock, Joe Linton. They were all there, all of them pretty much, apart from Bruno, who was still anchoring in the midfield, and they all turned round and looked at each other like proud dads. Firstly when Anderson scored, and then secondly when Louis Miley did a lovely pirouette in the middle of the pitch in the dying moments, and set up a chance for, I think it was Parkinson, the young sub, who headed over from Jacob Murphy's cross. It got the crowd off their seats, it got the Newcastle subs bench off their seats, and it really just kind of highlighted even more just what a success story Louis Miley has been this summer. But as I say, not just Louis Miley, Anderson as well with his two goals. It's difficult to pick between the two of them as to which one has been the star turn this tour in America, because the two of them have really been outstanding. But you have to say, certainly in Anderson's case, he looks to be forcing his way into Eddie Howe's side ahead of that season opener against Aston Villa in 2 weeks' time now. Howe afterwards said he's exhausted. He said it's been a really intense couple of weeks out here, lots of training. Lascelles said double sessions most of the time. Howe said they haven't trained so much the last couple of days due to the quick turnaround in games, but he'd lost his voice as well. He said it's been a really, really testing couple of weeks, just what they needed. Very different to what they faced in Austria last year, where it was kind of quite chilled and they didn't have much media there, they didn't have many commitments, they weren't touring between different places. This has been different. The fact that Eddie's shattered before the season begins shows exactly what this week is taken out of his staff, himself, and of course the players as well. But I think over time, I think this will prove to be a good trip for Newcastle, because they've played 3 matches against top Premier League opposition. They've managed to remain unbeaten in each of those games, and it kind of gets them into things rather than playing nondescript friendly games against lesser opposition. They've been playing, full pelt action, and it's been high octane stuff in really, really intense heat. I mean, it wasn't like that in Atlanta. The stadium there had air conditioning, but this one here tonight was it's been really, really sweltering conditions. Must have been really, really difficult for the players out there. It was tiring just watching them actually. So and as I say, quite a number of them played the full 90 or at least 70 or 80. It wasn't as though it was 45 minutes each. So Interesting to see the way Eddie Howe's gone about things. He changed it up in the first game, essentially gave everyone 45 and then went with 2 11s for the second 2 games and introduced the youngsters off the bench in the second half, meaning that the whole squad got essentially a full 80-90 minutes under their belt without any sort of rest between that. So interesting to see the way he's doing it, different to how Roberto De Zerbi did it. It's different to the way Maurizio Pochettino's done it, but that's obviously the way it works for Eddie Howe, and we'll see how that works when the season starts. And when you look at the fixture list, Eddie Howe said at the start of the season, he said we've got such a tough start to the campaign that we needed the intensity of these 3 matches that allow us to sort of go into it at full pelt, which might not have been the case if they were playing lesser friendly. So I think this might work out for Newcastle in the long run. But yeah, another great night for them here, I have to say. Another great night for the youngsters. We spoke at length about Louis Miley the other night there. Jamal Lascelles just said to me in the tunnel there, he said, look, we're all just absolutely delighted for him because he's such a lovely lad, and you can see he's got real talent, and he, you know, if he keeps his feet on the ground, he could be a real player for the future. So that's the camp over. Newcastle will now have some downtime tomorrow. They will stay in New York overnight tonight. I think they'll do some team bonding tomorrow, I'm led to believe, and then fly back tomorrow night and get batten down the hatches for the season ahead, and which is going to be a long, arduous one with Champions League, Premier League, and then the cup competitions as well. So some downtime for the players tomorrow. I think they probably deserve that after 2 very hard weeks here. Back to Newcastle to get ready for the friendlies next weekend, and then that season opener, of course, against Aston Villa a week on Saturday. 2 weeks today it will be. So yeah, it's been tough. It's been an arduous couple of weeks out here. It's been great to cover. Sadly for me, I've got a bit more to do. I'm heading to Washington tomorrow to cover the last games, and then come back to New York and fly home from there. So I've got 2 games on Sunday to cover in Washington. If Chelsea fail to win, if Chelsea lose, I need to double check these, but I think Newcastle could end up lifting this Summer Series trophy when they're back home. So I said that to Jamal Lascelles. I said, you could end up lifting this in your bedroom, or you could end up lifting it back at the training ground. And he goes, we'll be watching it tomorrow. Let's hope that Chelsea don't win. But anyway, over and out from me from what is a absolutely scorching hot New York this evening, as Newcastle beat Brighton 2-1 thanks to those 2 late goals from Elliot Anderson. See you soon.